milkshake lament.
Yeah.
Well, now that they've just come in and heard the milkshake lament, we should fill them in.
No, so I ordered. I was like, I was gonna cook enchiladas tonight because I had some tortillas left over, but I didn't have any chicken, so I was like, well,
Jesus.
I'm not gonna be able to cook enchiladas. So I was like, all right, let's see what Uber Eats has. And Murder Burger was on Uber Eats for the first time. They haven't been on there yet.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, I'll get a Murder Burger. And then one of the things they were offering was a chocolate chunk banana milkshake. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. So I got it, waited an hour for them to get here. And then when I did, they gave me a burger and I was like, where's the milkshake? And he was like, they didn't give me a milkshake. And then I submitted a complaint to Uber Eats and they gave me a refund. But I didn't want a refund.
Who wants a refund?
I wanted the milkshake, and now I don't have a milkshake, and it's thrown my night out of whack.
All right. Well, is there anything that you could, in the room, that you could drink to satiate your thirst?
No, nothing.
Root beer?
There's a root beer.
Can I have a root beer?
All right. I don't really like root beer, though.
Can I still have one?
Yeah, well, I'm going to have one too for solidarity.
Thanks, man. All right, cracking open. As many people have done in the past... Oh, that sound. Cracking open a couple of root beers and talking about Godzilla, specifically the Showa series. Or era, I believe is the correct term.
What does that mean? Oh, man, it tastes like toothpaste.
Well, did you just brush your teeth or something?
No, but hold on, I'm going to get a pillow because my chair's too low. Keep talking.
So, the Showa era. So, Godzilla is probably one of the most famous film franchises of all time. Came out of a little country called Japan. Started in 1954. And there's 31 films total, and
oh, that's much better.
They're broken into a few different eras. So one of them is called the Showa series, which the Showa era refers to a period of time when Japan was ruled by Emperor Hirohito from 1926 to 1989.
Why was it called the Showa? If it was
Showa Hirohito was his name.
Oh, I apologize. That's weird that they would call it after his first name, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting. So it's interesting because there's 15 films, but politically speaking, the next film we'll watch, Return of Godzilla, is actually a Showa film.
Okay.
But it's like a reboot, so it's not really counted.
Hold on, back up just a second, Richard, because this is film franchise Fortnights on the Cult Pop podcast.
Yeah, I'm Richard Martin.
I'm AJ. And what we usually do here is we watch a film franchise every fortnight, but you just said the next one we watch. Shouldn't we have watched them all since it's been the last fortnight?
Well, okay, so we're doing something a little bit different because it's an unprecedentedly huge franchise. So, as I say, the Godzilla franchise has 31 films in it.
Yeah.
But it is actually divided up by, like, purists. So it's not, we didn't just choose different points. It's
if we did, we wouldn't have watched 15 the first fortnight.
Yeah, so we watched 15 of them, which is the Showa series, which is the biggest one, this fortnight. But then next week, we're going to be watching the Heisei series, which is, like, I think 7 films. And then after that, you've got the Millennium. We'll be doing that a week later. And then we've got Miscellaneous, which is another reboot, as well as 2 American films.
The Millennium series, of course, named after Emperor Millennium
of the late 80s. So I guess, should we just crack into what the films we watched were? We watched one a day.
Almost. We saw Spider-Man the other night.
Yeah, and didn't watch it. But yeah. It's still film franchise Fortnights.
Yeah. Well, we probably won't talk about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But we've
talked about Spider-Man enough on this podcast.
Yeah. My goodness. Give us a break, guys. You're always bloody on our backs about Spider-Man.
It's not Spider-Man.
No.
It's not his name. All right. So, the Godzilla or Gojira franchise started in 1954 with the film Gojira or Godzilla, which is directed by Ishiro Honda. And we're gonna just to speed things along.
Yeah.
We're gonna mix together listing the films and what they're about, because who has time for that? There's 15 of them. If we spend as long talking about each film as we did talking about the last night, this podcast would be a day long.
Okay, so Gojira, spelled Gojira. Can we explore why in just a second? Why it's called that?
Yep. Actually, I've got a wee game.
Oh,
For that.
cool. So that movie, as you probably know what the Godzilla series are. As an umbrella, they're about a giant lizard who attacks cities.
Giant dinosaur.
Giant dinosaur. Apologise. Well, that's what a giant lizard is.
Wait, no. He's a reptile. He's not a lizard.
Okay, so in the first one from 1954, is that right?
That's correct.
Tokyo is attacked by a giant lizard named Gojira, and he is defeated by an oxygen destroyer that is made by a mad scientist. This film was a very seminal film for Japanese cinema because it came out not too long after...
9 years after the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
And it's very clearly a jaded metaphor for Japan and the struggles that they were going through. Because
and it's a very serious film.
Yeah.
It ends on a very dramatic note as well. But thank you. That was a very good, succinct explanation. That was followed less than 6 months later by Godzilla Raids Again, directed by Motoyoshi Oda. Oh, sorry.
It's that root beer, dude. We shouldn't be drinking root. We've done this before. I'm putting my root beer down.
And this introduces, he goes up against a monster called Anguirus.
Yes. So what was that one called? That was called
Godzilla Raids Again.
What was it called in English?
Godzilla Raids Again. Well, it was like Gigantus.
So let's clarify that as well. We mixed between watching the American and Japanese releases because there are slight differences.
Yeah, they've got slightly different titles sometimes, and they've got we didn't watch anything because there's I think the original Godzilla had scenes added.
Yeah, and scenes taken out.
And scenes
it's
taken
considered like a travesty to the original film.
But there so there's like the Americanized versions, of which there's like 3, and then there's just the dubs, which are like straight dubs, which have minor changes.
Yeah. So we watched a few dubs amongst this.
Yeah.
So Godzilla Raids Again. Godzilla fights Anguirus in Osaka, ravaging the city. To ensure no future destruction, the Japanese Air Force find Godzilla in a snowy mountainside. They drop bombs on the mountain, burying him in an avalanche. Do you remember that? Because that feels like 100 years ago. I had to write these as we watched them. And that's the last normal one in the franchise. They get pretty weird from here on out, so just be prepared for that.
And 7 years later, they introduced color to the franchise with King Kong versus Godzilla, which is directed by Ishiro Honda and features the monsters King Kong and Udako, which is the octopus.
Oh,
Remember
right.
that?
Oh, yeah, I do.
So there's a 7-year break between those two films,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
So King Kong vs. Godzilla. Oh, that's what this was about. That's right. A struggling TV show sends 2 of its producers to an island to retrieve King Kong in an attempt to get better ratings. Meanwhile, an American submarine crashes into an iceberg, freeing Godzilla from within. Both creatures wind up back in Japan, where their final battle takes place on Mount Fuji after King Kong is carried there by giant helium balloons. Kong defeats Godzilla, then swims home. This was an insane movie. So they pretty much knock King Kong out and use him as like a weapon to defeat Godzilla, and they do that by tying him to helium balloons. And you gotta wonder, when they made this movie, did they think this looked
it looks like they're dragging their drunk friend home.
It's so silly looking. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was such a funny...
It was a fun time. That was probably the most fun one we watched, I think. 2 years later, we had Mothra vs. Godzilla, 1964, once again directed by Ishiro Honda. And this introduces Mothra, both larva and adult forms.
A giant egg, specifically, washes up on the shores of Japan and is quickly bought up by a greedy businessman. Then 2 tiny women, you heard that right, 2 tiny women show up and claim the egg belongs to Mothra, who is a giant moth who is their island's deity. Then Godzilla shows up and starts destroying the city, so the heroes plead with the tiny woman for Mothra's help in defeating Godzilla. Mothra is killed by Godzilla, but her egg hatches and 2 moth larvae crawl out, and then they defeat Godzilla by spraying him with loads of silk until he falls into the ocean.
So
a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, we should say, because some people might sort of have an interesting view of Godzilla because he started out as like a metaphor for the dropping of the bombs, but then now he's like Godzilla's savior. Japan's savior.
Yeah.
And this, I think, was the last film where he was where he was like a straight up bad guy.
And by the way, as well, when I say tiny woman, I'm not being like un-PC. They're not little people. They are 6 inches high. They're fairies. And there's nothing like it in the series up until this point. Nor really again from this point.
Well, I mean, except they keep appearing.
They reappear, you're right. I assume that... So there's something else we should mention, is that what's interesting about the Godzilla series is that it is actually the first... or a very early example of what we would now call a cinematic universe with the likes of Marvel and stuff. But so while these Godzilla movies were coming out, there was Mothra, there was Ghidorah, Rodan, all these movies that of their own monsters, and we only watched the ones that were central to Godzilla. We didn't watch.
There's an official timeline of Godzilla films. I do actually have some notes here about that. So we'll get back to the timeline, but Godzilla is produced by a company called Toho, which sort of specializes in the kaiju genre. Kaiju of which is giant monster. It means strange beast in Japanese. And so during the Showa period, they produced 15 Godzilla films and another 25 other films. One which was a franchise surrounding the monster Gamera, who's like a giant turtle thing.
How many did they produce?
25.
So there are 25 other films we didn't watch to fully understand.
Yeah.
Just the Showa period?
Showa, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize they were that big.
Yeah, there's Gamera, and then there's like, as you say, there's one-off films featuring characters like Rodan or Mothra, which would later battle Godzilla. And in total, they also did some TV shows. In total, during this period, Toho created 357 monsters.
Holy shit. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I thought there was like 4 or 5 we'd missed. I was tempted to be like, maybe we should watch them. But no, I'm glad we didn't.
No, yeah. There's like, if you go through, like, there's a giant list. So across all the TV shows they did, there's 357 independent monsters created in this period of 20-something years.
Wow. All right, what was the next one?
So the next one, we've just done Mothra versus Godzilla. Next one is Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, again directed by Ishiro Honda. And this features King Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra in lava form.
Mm-hmm. So Godzilla teams up with Rodan and Mothra to take down a 3-headed dragon from Jupiter named King Ghidorah. That's what I wrote for that one.
Pretty succinct.
Yeah, these change depending on whether I wrote them directly after I saw it or the next day.
Yeah, because boy, like, good luck remembering anything the next day. So Ghidorah's, like, I think is sort of considered Godzilla's greatest enemy, and this is his introduction. So yeah, he's as industry. So he didn't get his own like spin-off first before. It's not too much to be said about it. Next one was Invasion of the Astro Monster.
Monster.
Yeah,
I've got written down Invasion of the Astro Men. Is that not right?
No.
Oh my gosh.
So Invasion of the Astro Monster, which is again directed by Ishiro Honda and features Rodan and King Ghidorah.
Yep. So a new planet is discovered near Jupiter called Planet X. And astronauts go to explore it only to discover Ghidorah causing havoc for the aliens. The aliens ask the humans to bring Godzilla and Rodan to their planet to fight Ghidorah, and they do. And it's hilarious because you see Godzilla in space, and it's really funny. But then the humans leave Godzilla and Rodan there, and the aliens invade Earth with all 3 kaiju under their control. The humans defeat the aliens by broadcasting a high-pitched frequency across the world. These got weird.
Yeah.
Be interesting
There's so
to see
many different alien races across the film. What were you going to say? It's interesting to see what?
Was it? I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Just keep going, bro.
Okay.
Work it in. We're not editing this. Just keep going.
Ibira, Horror of the Deep, directed by Jun Fukuda, which features Ibira, Mothra in adult form, and Ukonduru.
Who?
Ukonduru.
Who's that?
I did look at a photo today. I can't remember.
So Ibira, Horror of the Deep is about a group of guys who get shipwrecked on an island which is guarded by a giant lobster named Ibira. Godzilla also lives on the island, and there's also a militia after the main characters. In the end, Mothra saves everyone from Ibira, and the militia nuke the island just as Godzilla cannonballs into the ocean.
This was the first one we watched dubbed as well. This was our first introduction to dubbing.
That's right. Yeah.
Next one, a year later, Son of Godzilla, directed by Jun Fukuda again.
This is the best one.
This features Manila, Kamacuras, and Kumonga.
A group of explorers find an island inhabited by giant praying mantises. There's also an egg which hatches a baby Godzilla, who we found out his name is Manila, and Godzilla takes care of him. They defeat the giant praying mantises and a giant spider and hug each other in the snow as it ends.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're listening to this and you're able to, Google Son of Godzilla. Don't watch the movie. Google image Son of Godzilla, because to fully be involved in this episode, you need to know what he looks like. How he looks. Do you remember the 90s sitcom Dinosaurs? It was people in dinosaur suits. It was live action. Manila looks like the pink baby dinosaur, not the mama dinosaur. Yeah. He looks like a grayish green, larger version of that.
Yeah, he looks like he's in pain.
He's so silly looking. It's unreal that this was put in an actual movie.
Yeah, did people fear Manila? I guess
that's what I want to know about all of these movies.
In a couple of films. So number 9, Destroy All Monsters. So this is directed by Ishiro Honda again. To come back, he took a couple off. So this features Godzilla as well as Manila, Anguirus, Rodan, Mothra, Kumonga, Gorosaurus, Varan, Baragon, Manda, and King Ghidorah.
Yep.
So this is their
Avengers.
This is their Avengers.
So all the monsters are held peacefully on this island, but then aliens have an orb which I don't remember writing any of this. And then aliens have an orb which controls the monsters, and they use it to make the monsters wreak havoc on Earth. Then the humans destroy the orb, and the monsters destroy the aliens. Okay. I trust my past.
Sure that's what happened. Okay, now here's where it gets interesting. All monsters attack.
I rated this one. I rated them all out of about 5.
Yeah.
I rated this one 1.
Yeah.
As in the worst.
Yeah, okay. So this was directed by Ishiro Honda, which baffles me that the person who directed the solemn Godzilla of 1954 could 15 years later
direct this film really? I didn't know that.
Featuring Manila, Gabara, and a giant eagle.
So okay, that's the thing about I first noticed this when I was a kid, and I watched Spirited Away. Asian storytelling, when you've got these two sides of the world that basically developed independently of each other, but they both developed storytelling. It's like they both got the same idea, but they both did it differently. And Asian storytelling, be it Japanese, Chinese, all the ones that put out a lot of stories, they're always got the weirdest rules for their stories. And one of the things that I noticed watching Godzilla was that nothing's off the table.
Yeah.
You can put fairies and aliens in your sci-fi giant monster movie, because in Japanese storytelling, that's not that weird. So All Monsters Attack is about a little boy, and he really likes Godzilla movies. So we're not even set in the same universe. We're set outside of the other movies.
Yeah, once we've got to the end of this, I'm going to explain the timeline to you.
Okay. So yeah, he really likes Godzilla movies and is bullied by some kids. Then he falls asleep and dreams that he goes to Monster Island, where him and a talking Manila, so a talking baby son of Godzilla.
Okay, and put a pin in this. What does he sound like when Manila talks?
He goes, "Well, hi there."
He sounds like a cross between Goofy and Barney.
And it's so funny. It's like your jaw hits the floor funny.
Yeah. These monsters don't normally talk. We should preface this.
So there's also a bully monster in this dream Monster Island.
That's the Gabara.
Yep, and the kid, and so that Manila and the kid face the bully monster, and he learns a lesson about facing bullies. But then the kid is kidnapped in real life. He is kidnapped, and but he stands. He stands up to his kidnappers because of the dream he had where he learned to stand up to bullies. Now, if I was a kid and I was getting bullied, and then I had a dream that kind of solved the problem or taught me to stand up to bullies, I'd be like, sweet. And then the next day I got kidnapped, that dream would not be at the forefront of my mind. I would be thinking, I'm going to be killed.
They're completely different situations. And so, because you pointed out, Manila's kind of this, weird sort of side character. He's the Jar Jar Binks of the franchise. And when the kid is saved, the reporters are all crowding around.
Yes.
How did you feel? Were you scared? And he's like, no, I wasn't scared. I had Manila with me.
And they know who Manila is because the Godzilla movies exist within this universe.
It's like if someone got kidnapped and they were like, "No, I'm fine. I had Jar Jar Binks with me,"
And then leaves.
and then just wander off, with
Never
his
to explain
with his
what the hell he
tiny
meant.
pants.
Yeah, it's really short shorts. There's a series of 3 movies in the series in a row that star little Asian boys with really, really short shorts, and I don't know how I'm going to justify why I noticed that, but it's noticeable.
I didn't notice that, AJ.
Whatever you did, don't leave me out here.
All right, so the next one is Godzilla versus Hedorah.
Godzilla fights a monster made out of smog and pollution. That's all.
Yeah, it was also called Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was directed by Yoshimitsu Banno.
Mm-hmm. This one was alright. It was like there's sort of a dip and then like a slow rise in these films.
Yeah.
Like the middle ones from about let's see, from Son of Godzilla to All Monsters Attack. We're in this like uncanny valley of Godzilla films.
Destroy All Monsters is probably one of the better ones.
I guess so, but it was still weird. It was still like bizarre. Then Hedorah kind of brings it back to
Hedorah's interesting because it's trying to have an environmental message.
Yeah, it was weird.
Then we had Godzilla versus Gigan, which is directed by Jun Fukuda.
So there's
this features Gigan, King Ghidorah, and Anguirus.
Yep, and there's a Godzilla theme park, and I don't remember what else they had to do with the rest of the story, but it seemed pretty important to begin with.
Yeah.
Because then aliens, who are actually giant cockroaches, want to take over the world with their buzzsaw chest dinosaur named Gigan. Godzilla defeats him.
Yeah. And Godzilla speaks in this film.
Oh,
it's not a dream sequence. It's just randomly he goes, "Hey, Anguirus!" And Anguirus is like, "Yeah, what do you want?" And then he's like, "We should go check that out." He's like, "Okay." Now, you think I'm making that up, and you think I'm just putting on silly voices. That was a pitch perfect imitation of how these sound.
You guys need to watch, like, of all the films we've watched on this podcast, this is the one that I urge, the second longest series we've done. Yeah. I urge you to watch these films so you can fully understand what we're talking about.
Pause this, go watch 15 films, and we'll see you in, I actually wrote this down, we'll see you in 1,293 minutes. Or 21.5 hours. Okay. So next one is Godzilla vs. Megalon. Jun Fukuda directed it. And it features Megalon, Gigan, Jet Jaguar, and Anguilla. Yeah,
so Godzilla teams up with a giant Power Ranger named Jet Jaguar. And they fight a giant bug who's named Megalon. But he's actually sent to Earth from the ocean. So it's already on Earth, from a community of undersea humans who aren't mermaids. So now
they hate being called mermaids.
So there's a rule. There's a nice rule for if you're a budding screenwriter. There's a nice rule I once learnt for screenwriting, which is don't have more than one magic in your stories. Yeah. Like if it's time travel, don't put I don't know, ghosts in it as well. Yeah. You know, it doesn't like there's a way to do it, but usually it doesn't.
Time traveling ghosts.
That's a good idea.
Story,
yeah.
Dibs.
So for those of you counting at home, Godzilla has giant monsters. It has aliens. It has fairies, and now it has undersea people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has a giant robot Power Ranger called Jet Jaguar.
That's true.
Now, Jet Jaguar might have stuck out to you a little bit, AJ, when you're watching these films. Do you know how Jet Jaguar came to existence?
How?
A children's competition of design the next kaiju.
Oh my gosh.
And
why are children watching these movies?
The design for Jet Jaguar, it was called like Red Alone or something like that originally. And they said, well, your name's dumb, but we like the design. So yeah, Red Alone. And they were going to have Jet Jaguar versus Megalon, and they realized the film wouldn't do well, and for marketing and stuff, so they cancelled it, added Godzilla in, and then they shot it in 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Like, imagine if like a film nowadays was like, have a competition to design like a major tentpole of our tentpole franchise.
Yeah.
That
like
would just
Marvel
wouldn't happen.
Just like design the next villain.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah. Okay, then getting home stretch. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
Jeepers, man.
Jun
It's that
Fukuda.
root beer, dude.
Yeah, man. I've finished it now, though, so hopefully. Which features Mechagodzilla, Anguirus, and King Caesar. Anguirus making his last appearance for 30 years. And this was the film released on the 20th anniversary of Godzilla.
Huh. So Godzilla has to fight a robotic version of himself who was created by an alien race of monkey people. Yeah. So, for those of you counting at home, giant monsters, aliens, fairies, sea people, and now, like, Planet of the Apes monkeys are in it. Very clearly humans wearing masks. But.
Do you know what's real funny as well?
What?
That I just remembered. So, there's a bucket load of cancelled Godzilla films. One of them was called Godzilla vs. Ghost Godzilla. And it was we'll get to it in a couple of weeks, but they do the Godzilla series just becomes an anthology series, and it's like 4 different directors got given the original film and said, make a sequel to this, and you can ignore everything else in the timeline. And one of them was Godzilla versus the angry ghost of the Godzilla that died in the first film.
Wow. That film happened?
No.
Ah. That would have been cool.
Yeah, but there's a Ghost Godzilla pop vinyl that glows in the dark from the abandoned film.
So that means that we've got ghosts in this wacky melting pot as well.
Just need time travel.
We'll get there.
Next one is Terror of Mechagodzilla. This was directed by Ashiro Honda.
And this is one we just finished.
And we just finished this. It features Mechagodzilla 2 and Titanosaurus.
Yep, so an underwater monster, or underwater dinosaur called Titanosaurus, is attacking while an evil alien race attempt to rebuild Mechagodzilla, who was defeated in the previous film. And they want to use both monsters to wipe out mankind, but Godzilla shows up and puts a stop to their evil schemes. That's what I wrote.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And now I can turn my phone off because that was my
your contribution. So you mentioned before about the term Godzilla and Gogeta. So I've invented a game called Godzilla Facts. Are they real or are they just something that was rumored for a long time but eventually proven false?
I love this.
So I've got a few rounds of this.
I used to spend like full summers on the beach, like at Christmas time, with my family playing this game.
Yeah, man. So I'll give you 2 Godzilla facts. You have to tell me which one's true. So, 1. The name Godzilla is an Americanization of the term Gogeta, which is a portmanteau of the Japanese words for whale, Kujita, and gorilla, Gorira. The term Gogeta was originally the nickname of an overweight stagehand working at Toho, and the character was named after him, much to his chagrin. Or, each Godzilla film would use the suits from the previous film, and it was like a ritual that they would destroy them in any underwater shots or any scenes when Godzilla had to get particularly dirty or roughed up.
So one of these facts is true and one of them isn't?
Yeah.
Is the fact that isn't true, was it still rumoured?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the game. Okay, so you haven't made either of them up. You pulled them from somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say that I feel like his name is Whale and what is it?
Gorilla.
Whale and Gorilla, but I feel like the fat, overweight guy isn't true. That part's not true, but I also feel like the other one's true. I'm going to say that the first one's true.
You were right. So the second thing is completely true. So every Godzilla film, they'd like make a new suit, and then for any particularly like dirty scenes, they would use the one from the previous films and just destroy it.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was there's stories about this fat guy that worked for Toho, and he got called Gogeta because of whale gorilla. And that's rumored for years, but there's no evidence that someone with that nickname ever worked at Toho.
Okay, but that is why Godzilla.
Yeah. So this was originally round 3 when I started getting a little bit sneaky with my, with my like, well, it counts.
Okay.
So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because originally the design was more whale-like. Yeah, but then but then it was like they came out with Gogeta. And then Godzilla, King of the Monsters, was the American release.
Yeah.
And then Toho liked the name kind of thing.
Well, I guess you could also look at it as that Gojira actually dies at the end of Gojira.
Yeah.
So maybe the first one's just called Gojira, and then the one who comes back is Godzilla.
Yeah.
Maybe they're different monsters.
Exactly. Maybe they are.
Maybe they are. Okay. All right. What's the next one?
All right. Next round. Okay, there's a cancelled film called Godzilla versus the Devil, in which Toho, tending to capitalize on franchises like Poltergeist and Amityville Horror, the sins of man would manifest into a spider, a fish, and a bird, which would battle Godzilla until a point where the devil himself would manifest and fight Godzilla. Or, in 1966, there were plans for a Godzilla versus Batman film starring Adam West's Batman.
Okay, the first one's real. The second one's just rumored to be real.
Other way around.
Really?
Yep. First one is like one of the most popular Godzilla rumors, Godzilla versus the Devil.
Yeah.
No evidence that was ever going to happen. And yeah, a Godzilla versus Batman film came pretty close to happening, starring Adam West, and he was going to use vehicles such as the Batwing and the Batmobile to stand a chance against our favorite kaiju.
I wish that one happened more than the Devil one, probably.
Yeah. Do you want to play another round?
Yeah.
All right. There's a church. Okay, so this one. There's a church called the Church of Godzilla.
Yeah.
Or there are two endings to King Kong versus Godzilla.
There isn't a Godzilla church. There is two endings to King Kong.
They're actually technically both correct.
Oh well.
So
what the hell? You can't do that.
There's a Church of God in the small town of Zilla, Washington.
That's awesome.
Which opened a full decade before the original film. They have embraced the homonym and happily refers to themselves as the Church of God, Zilla, and have a metal sculpture of Godzilla holding a cross behind the church.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's so cool.
And technically, so it's long rumored that if you watch the Japanese version of King Kong versus Godzilla, that Godzilla is victorious in the end. But in every version of the film, King Kong is victorious. However, in the closing credits of the Japanese version of the film, you can hear Kong and Godzilla roar at the same time, whereas in the American, only Kong roars. So this was long rumored, and then when the internet came around, people were like, "Oh, I can watch both versions now," and they found out there's only one, but there's actually a minor difference. Yeah. So, okay. Another cancelled film one. This is just me being a little dumb kind of thing. So, Bride of Godzilla was as a cancelled film. It was originally conceived to come after Son of Godzilla, where Godzilla and Minilla would encounter another kaiju called Erebus, and the three would have battled King Ghidorah, with Godzilla's family dying in the process, and that would have that's them attempting to ride out Minilla.
Interesting.
Or Bride of Godzilla was going to feature a scientist building a giant naked lady robot to fight Godzilla. In a shocking twist, Godzilla would fall in love with it. Mid-coitus, it was going to be revealed that the girl was actually an H-bomb, and it would detonate, destroying Godzilla.
Oh, that can't be true. That's too gross for Godzilla's audiences.
What do you think?
No, that one's just rumoured.
I actually completely made up the first one.
Really?
The second one is 90% true. I made up the mid-coitus thing, but who's to say how it would have happened?
Okay, so you made up the first one. That's okay, never mind. Because I was going to be like, oh, so people didn't like Minilla.
Maybe they did. I don't know. I made that up.
Can we find... If you're listening to this and you love...
And you saw Son of Godzilla in theaters.
Yeah. Do you like him? like when did people stop taking these movies seriously?
Yeah, it's interesting because...
Or did they?
Well, because the first one's like this harrowing drama that
it's the Godfather of Japanese cinema.
Yeah, so Godzilla I don't know, it might not be. There's a scene where Godzilla steps on a theater, and apparently people ran out of it because they were terrified that it was happening. But uneducated. But then the sequel, Godzilla Raids, because Godzilla was so popular, shit, we need to do another one of these.
Yeah.
So they rushed one out, came out less than 6 months later. So it was a box office. Imagine that, a box office success. Then no plans for a sequel, and then one comes out less than 6 months later. Yeah. That's madness.
Yeah.
And then it was pretty poorly received. And so it they went on hold for 7 years, and it took King Kong coming to the franchise to revive it.
And King Kong's never showed up again either.
No, there have been plans for King Kong coming back. Ibera was originally a King Kong film. King Kong versus Ibera. And for some reason in Germany, these films are called King Kong versus the Spaceman is the one with Jet Jaguar or something like that.
But King Kong's not even in it.
Yeah, no, it's just like that thing of it's a giant monster. It's called King Kong. which is real weird.
Okay. So what is the general consensus on these films? Because did you enjoy them?
It's that weird sort of like there are definitely moments where I was like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
It's they can be quite hard to get on board with, and that is partially due to the language gap of like it's hard to sit down and watch like a kind of cheesy lame film that still has this weird mythology and follow it. But the first one's a good film.
Yeah, of course.
It's like the Beethoven franchise.
Yeah. It's exactly like Beethoven.
Godzilla's Japan's Beethoven. Yeah, but then it got to the point where like I'd enjoy watching the bad ones more as well. Like because you wouldn't feel as bad for not paying attention to them, and then you just catch a real silly moment.
Yeah. Well, because my favourites were the first one, I guess, for a completely different reason to the others. Yeah. But then the ones, okay, if you're playing at home, the ones you need to watch are Gojira, King Kong vs. Godzilla, Son of Godzilla, and All Monsters Attack. Those are the most entertainment wise because they're so brazen.
It takes like 69 minutes long.
Yeah,
so just chuck it on one.
Yeah.
I have got the Rotten. Well, I mean, a lot of these don't have Rotten Tomatoes scores, but someone on Wikipedia put together like a general consensus numbers. But I'll only give you the top and bottom three. So top three, obviously, number one is Godzilla / Gojira at 93%. Number two, Mothra vs. Godzilla at 90%. So Mothra's a pretty beloved character.
Yeah,
Mothra's like Japan's guardian.
I was expecting to like love the Mothra version, the Mothra movie. I didn't. I thought it was boring. I thought it ends with two grubs like spraying Godzilla with silk, and it goes for like 5 minutes of them just spraying him, and then he falls into the ocean. It's boring.
Yeah, these films later on got really. They a lot of use of stock footage and stuff like that, which I'll get to in just a moment. Number three is Destroy All Monsters at 71%. So it's a bit less down, but I keep on like wanting to get ahead of myself. I'm just going to go through the bottom three. Bottom three, Godzilla Raids Again, the second one. King Kong vs. Godzilla, second lowest rated at 33%. And the lowest rated is, of course, All Monsters Attack at 29%.
Sorry about that. That's insane. I did not expect that bottom three. Godzilla Raids Again is fine. Like, it doesn't need to be that low.
Yeah. All Monsters Attack deserves to be there.
Yeah. All Monsters Attack is far and away the worst one. And then...
It's a different franchise.
Yeah, then Son of Godzilla is probably the next worst one. And then maybe King Kong. But, like, these are like so bad you enjoy it. That's the three frames of Godzilla films. There's the great ones, which basically there's only Gojira, and then Godzilla Raids Again tries to be that. So I'm going to put it in that category in terms of atmosphere, not quality. Yeah. Then you've got at the other end, you've got So Bad It's Good. So King Kong, baby, Son of Godzilla, and All Monsters Attack. And then in the middle, you've got the I just don't want to. I'm bored. I'm so bored, which is your Astro Monsters and your Ibera and
Okay, it's interesting you bring that up because the Showa series actually can be divided into three different sections.
No way.
There's the original duology.
Oh, why didn't we watch that?
Godzilla and Godzilla Raids Again, because those are very too much together. And then after the relative failure of Godzilla Raids Again, the series was put on hold for 7 years before returning in the form of King Kong vs. Godzilla. Thus beginning the revival sub-era, which ran for 7 films before culminating in the film Destroy All Monsters, which sees Godzilla and 10 different monsters do battle in 1999.
Wait.
There's a little. I didn't mean to say that yet. And that's
no, sorry. I won't get my hooks into it, but you mean 1999 is when the film's set, not when it was made.
And this was intended to be the final film in the series, but it was continued with All Monsters Attack, one of the Talking Vanilla. And this is sometimes called the Matsuri sub-era. They went for 6 films, finishing with a Terror of Mechagodzilla. And now here's the weird part. So, as you've said, All Monsters Attack is set in its own continuity. So that's completely outside of... That's like fourth wall breaking. Everything in the Matsuri era is set between Son of Godzilla and Destroy All Monsters.
Okay.
Destroy All Monsters is supposed to be set like 30 years later. Mm-hmm. And then every other film is supposed to be set the year it's come out.
Okay.
Which is real weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, the timeline on these films is real strange. AJ, what did you think of the what were you expecting? You know.
So it's my fault now.
Yeah.
No, I guess because we're no strangers to super series. We're no strangers to super franchises. So we've done the longest one we've done. If this is your first episode, welcome. The longest franchise that we did was the 20-film Freddy vs. Jason Saga, which is technically 2 franchises that we pushed into one to culminate in Freddy vs. Jason. And the Friday the 13th branch of them, they are very they get real repetitive. And there's slight tweaks and there's slight changes, but you grow. I found for the Friday the 13th movies way more easy to watch than the Godzilla movies. Maybe that's because of the language barrier, as you said. But
yeah, and it's also these films are surprisingly character and dialogue driven, which is good. I mean, films should do that. Whereas Friday the 13th is literally just Jason's going around stabbing people.
Yeah,
and you don't have to invest in the human.
Yeah, there are a lot of humans. There's a couple where Godzilla's not even in it till the last half.
Yeah, Vera doesn't. In Vera, he doesn't appear for an hour.
Really? Yeah. Yeah, and I think something like the Astro Monster, that was it felt very much like an afterthought to put Godzilla in that movie because it was more about an alien invasion and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, some of these films did have Godzilla just added at the last second.
Yeah.
Man. The suits. What do you think of the suits?
Okay, look, man. Here's what's wrong with these movies. I understand how important these are to a lot of people, and that's cool, and I'm not saying that they didn't need to be made. But, so, I don't know anything about the Heisei series, which is the next one we're doing. I hope they change the suit. Because you might have seen behind the scenes pictures online of people wearing the suit and they're in miniature cities that they destroy. It's very obvious that these are men in suits. The way Godzilla's suit is designed is that the spikes on his back, they wobble as he gets hit. That it's very obvious that they're not when you would hit a Stegosaurus, I would imagine its spines wouldn't wobble about like they were made out of plush, you know?
Yeah.
And my first thought is it started from about from King Kong vs. Godzilla. The first one's excellent. The first one, he moves slow and it's brooding and it's scary and it takes itself very seriously. Starting especially from King Kong vs. Godzilla, which is the third one, it just reminded me of Teletubbies.
Yeah.
They if you remember the Teletubbies, they walk around with their arms out, they shuffle about, they move, they're very clearly people in suits, and that's what all of these movies after the second film look like, is a bunch of dudes cuz several fights in these movies is Godzilla kicking a rock at a monster. He moves like a human. He doesn't move like a dinosaur or a lizard. And so he'll kick a rock at a bearer, and it's that's not how I want to see monsters fighting each other. I want to see them tackling each other and biting and scratching at each other.
Yeah, holding their mouth open and blasting down their...
And that does happen in one or two. But for the most part, especially in Son of Godzilla, so Manila is hatched out of this egg, and it's so funny. It's it looks like they're trying to make whoever's in the Manila suit crawl around like a baby would, but the suit's belly is too big. So I'm trying to paint a visual for you here. It's like he's lying belly down, and his arms and legs don't touch the ground. So he's just wobbling about. And he's rolling, and it looks so silly. It looks so funny. And then Godzilla's teaching him later on in the film how to behave as a dad would teach a child. But he's doing it by patting him on the head and gesturing him to try and do the atomic breath and things like that. There's not, this is if you watch how a mother tiger takes care of its cubs, it doesn't look like how a human does, but you can still tell they're taking care of it. And I would assume a dinosaur showing its child how to do, even though they're bipedal as well.
It wouldn't have seemed out of place if he started teaching him how to shave.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Like,
they're like Barney the dinosaur. They actually are.
actually, yeah.
And I thought that was dumb.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff. Like, without visual accompaniment, it's quite hard.
This is the hardest podcast we've done in terms of like painting the picture.
Yeah, because it is just so silly. Like, if you just search like Godzilla GIFs, you'd probably find
Like,
silly stuff.
I might post this on our Facebook page. Like us on Facebook, Cult Pop Show on Facebook. I might post the King Kong vs Godzilla fight because that's all you need to know. Like, watch that, you'll understand what the rest of the series looks like.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of rock kicking in that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of rock kicking. There's hands flailing about. Godzilla walks around like Mr. Burns. You know how Mr. Burns is like his hands out and they're like facing down, kind of like a, you know, like that's what Godzilla walks around like.
I remember,
I need cheers and jeers and like high fives. Like
there's a little dance in one of them.
there's a moment of change that happens in Mothra versus Godzilla where Mothra can talk to the other monsters and the tiny woman can understand Mothra. So they're translating for everyone. And I was just like, no, like animals don't speak a universal language. Like the appeal of the original Gojira is that he's a animal. Like he's a force of nature. He's not an intelligent necessarily, not in the same way that we'd think of human intelligence. He's an animal. It's the same with like Alien, like from the Alien movies. It's an animal. And so to see a scene where they're translating for Godzilla means that even though they can't speak it, they understand what language is as a concept, and they can speak a language, and therefore they're intelligent. They're just as intelligent as like someone with a foreign language, like a human with a foreign language would be. And that's not what I think these series should be. They're noble in that, you know, Godzilla might be noble in the same way that an elephant is noble, but he's not noble in the way that like a samurai is noble.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous, and that's my critique of a 50-year-old series.
Yeah, 60 years old.
60-year far out, man, and we've only just begun. I mean, how far through are we as a whole?
Just under halfway.
Just under halfway.
Probably, yeah. The longest films are in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like these films are all just under 90 minutes, but the 98 American one is like just under 3 hours.
Yeah, but I'm going to be able to watch that one because it's my and it uses the language of film that I've been raised completely on.
Right. Yeah.
Not to say that there's anything wrong with the way that like foreign films are made. It's just harder to swallow when you've been raised on.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
Do we want to continue the franchise?
Let's continue the franchise.
This is a segment.
Yep, it is. What happens in this segment?
We try and continue the franchise. Now, we implemented, when we first started this podcast, we created a rule that the sequel has to come out now, which is, like, it gets weird when you do a podcast, when you do a franchise like this, that not only finished, you know, some 40-odd years ago, but actually has been rebooted 3 or 4 times since then.
Yeah.
But
it's certainly a spanner in the works.
Yeah, so we don't have we also don't have to do a direct sequel. We could do a game. We could do a book.
Yeah.
We could do anything.
Shall I go first? Because mine's pretty short. So basically, we haven't really talked about this, but one of the eras that sort of started of Godzilla now is the Gareth Edwards 2014 Godzilla movie, which is part of the MonsterVerse. And the like information for the Godzilla sequel has been announced now. It's got who's it got in it? It's Mothra, Ghidorah, Rodan. Is that it? I would like the third Gareth Edwards started Godzilla series film to be a remake of Son of Godzilla. I just want to see how, if there is a way to take that storyline seriously, because the MonsterVerse seems to be like relying a lot on homages and stuff like that. You know, it's got Mothra, Rodan, King Ghidorah in it. Those are all monsters that are pretty easy to take seriously. I want to see what happens when they're forced to get to Mechagodzilla or Son of Godzilla, where it's like, I mean, I guess there is a way you could do a baby Godzilla that isn't as fucking insane as the one we got in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
I wonder what that would be. So that's my Continue the Franchise, which somehow still fits within our rules for what the game is.
So my one's this is one of the like more tangential Continue the Franchises I've done. So keep in mind this is very tangential.
Okay.
So my film was called Polgasari.
Okay.
Or something, some variation on that.
Polgasari.
Polgasari.
What does that mean?
Polgasari. I don't know.
You don't know.
It'll document the creation of a Godzilla ripoff called Polgasari.
Okay.
So, have you heard of Polgasari?
No.
Polgasari is a 1985 North Korean monster film directed by Shin Sang-ok and Chong Gon-jo. Yeah. So in 1966, this is the start of the film. I've got like a page long.
This is the plot of your film.
This is the plot of my film.
Oh, sorry. So the one you've described isn't actually a real film. There's not actually a North Korean.
There is a North Korean film
called Polgasari.
Polgasari.
Okay.
And this is the story of the creation of it, and my film would tell this story.
Okay.
In 1966, Kim Jong-il joined the propaganda and agitation department and became the director of the motion picture and arts division. Now, he was a huge film buff, as has been well documented, with a library of over 15,000 films at his disposal. Some of his favourites including James Bond, Rambo, Friday the 13th, and guess who? Our boy Godzilla.
Beethoven. Yep.
Throughout the mid-70s, he grew frustrated with his films. Why weren't they good as the other ones being released globally? He decided that the reason his films were stiff and lifeless was due to a lack of enthusiasm from his actors and crew, so he hatched a plan. Kim Jong-il abducted South Korean actress Choi Yun-hee on January 22nd, 1978.
Is this all true?
This is all 100% true. And housed her in a luxury villa called Building Number 1. She was shown around all of Pyongyang and all the sights and sounds of North Korea. He would show her films and he would actually genuinely respect her feedback. After Choi disappeared, director Shin Sang-ok began searching for her. They were divorced and he had another family at the time, but that didn't stop him. His film studio's license had been revoked and he was travelling the world to try and get one of his films greenlit so that he could get a residency visa there. However, 6 months after Choi's capture, he was also kidnapped while in Hong Kong. He too was given lavish accommodation but was never told what happened to Choi. After 2 failed escape attempts, he was thrown in jail for disobedience. In 1983, 5 years later, he was finally released. 2 weeks later, he would be reunited with Choi at a party hosted by Kim Jong-il, and she would learn the truth. Her abduction was merely bait for the capture of Shin. Together, they were shown Dear Leader's film library. They were made to watch and critique 4 films a day. There was mutual respect for film knowledge amongst the trio, and eventually Kim would put Shin to work directing his films, his goal being to have them played to an international audience. In a rare act of humility, Jong-il allowed Shin to broaden the film's appeal, admitting the internal propaganda slant of his films wouldn't play well on an international stage. So,
wow. This is insane, man.
With unlimited funds at his disposal, Shin began work, creating a total of 6 films, the final and most expensive being a monster film entitled Polgasari. In spite of his hatred for the Japanese, Kim Jong-il swallowed his pride and flew in the special effects team of the original Godzilla films, including Kenpachiro Satsuma, the man inside the Heisei Godzilla suit to play the titular Polgasari. In addition, Masao Fukuzawa, who played Manila, plays a young Polgasari in the film. They were led to believe they would be shooting a film in China when they landed in North Korea instead. So I'll start to wrap up here. Shin and Choi rekindled their relationship while in captivity and remarried on the recommendation of Kim Jong-il. So that's a movie plot. Thinking ahead, should they ever escape, they managed to smuggle a tape recorder into North Korea, hoping to record a conversation with Kim so that they'd have proof they didn't leave the South willingly. After the success of Polgasari, Shin and Choi were allowed to take a business trip to Vienna in 1986, where they sought political asylum at the US Embassy. Very hurt, Kim Jong-il removed Shin's name from all of his films, labelled him a traitor and banned all his films, including Polgasari, from theatres, and to this day they are still banned in North Korea. Epilogue. Shin lived in the US for many years before eventually returning to South Korea. He was afraid to return for a long time. North Korea released a statement saying that the pair were in North Korea under their own choosing and had escaped stealing a large amount of North Korean money.
Wow.
Isn't that just a film?
That is, man. That's fascinating. So, that's awesome. So you wouldn't want to make a documentary. You want it to be like a biopic.
Yeah. There is.
Dude.
Yeah.
Let's make that movie.
That's like I was talking to you during the week. And I was like, I'm so passionate about this idea. Because I was just like scrolling through and I was like, it was like Godzilla knockoffs, and then it was like Pulgasari, North Korea, and I was like, North Korea made one, and then I was like, oh my god.
Oh my gosh, dude. Like, let's not release this podcast because someone else is going to make... Have you looked in... Has anybody tried to make?
There's a documentary about it.
Let's watch that.
Yeah. Pulgasari's on YouTube as well. The full film.
What does he look like?
He's like a giant, like minotaur.
I'm going to look him up.
He looks like a bull. Yeah, that's like one of the most insane true stories I've ever read.
Yeah, dude.
And like oh my gosh, it's so good. Like, cause I messaged you and I was thinking like, this is one of the first ones where I'm genuinely like, I want to make this film. And like, I've talked on this podcast before about how, actually maybe I haven't talked about it on the podcast before, but I've talked about how I watch films like Les Mis. And it's like, wow, these people are willing to die for their cause. Like, this is the first thing where I'm like, I want to make this film, and I'll probably die in the process because I'm in North Korea.
Well, we don't actually have to film it in North Korea.
Well, obviously not, but like, I mean, you sort of have with the interview and stuff. But like, the interesting thing is, like, this paints a really interesting picture of Kim Jong-il.
Yeah.
And like, let's just get political here.
I don't like him.
Like Kim Jong-il seems like quite an interesting, like, reasonably level-headed guy. And like the fact that he was able to swallow his pride and be like, let's get the Japanese in to do this, like absolute enemies of each other, and even to be like, yeah, you know what, we need to make these films more accessible.
Yeah. Because
not everyone's going to love just North Korean propaganda.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy, man. This is an insane story.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What are we going to do? How are we going to make this movie, dude?
I don't know, but I'm like...
New Zealand, they get New Zealand Film Commission on the horn. They wouldn't make it, it's not about New Zealand.
Yeah. What if it was Maui instead of Kim Jong-il?
No, because Maui's a good guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well. What about Godzilla versus the Taniwha? Why can't Godzilla come to New Zealand?
Yeah, he could do. I've always wanted to make a print of something that's like the Auckland skyline with Godzilla next to the Sky Tower. Let's
do that. Let's make that Cole Popsh's like cover photo or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
If you're listening and you're good at Photoshop, make up that image for us.
Yeah. And if you're listening and you're good at making films, please don't steal Pulgasari. Yeah, we should watch Pulgasari sometime.
Okay, let's do it.
I mean, I'm sure it's terrible. I actually skimmed through it on YouTube today, and fuck, it looks real bad. But they do screenings of it in like in America,
wow.
US. They do.
Far out. All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's a very, as I said, quite tangential.
Yeah, it's not really a continue the franchise, but
yeah, but
I'll allow it.
It's a film.
Maybe it could be
that was made because of that.
Maybe it could be set in the Godzilla universe. Like this is another thing. Is like people by the end of these films, people are like kids look up to Godzilla. By the end of this series, kids look up to Godzilla. That'd be like kids looking up to Osama bin Laden. Like,
it's more like if Osama bin Laden did all the things he did, but then one film he protected the US, and then they made another 12 films of him protecting.
Yeah, that's more like it.
It's a bad example, I do.
Imagine having like an Osama bin Laden action figure. They probably exist. I'm probably being naive by thinking they don't.
Yeah, kids love Osama.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Godzilla,
sorry, yeah.
Same thing.
All
right, okay. How are we going for time?
Almost 1 hour.
It's not enough. I demand 2.
Okay.
Oh man, I ate some freaking taco Doritos before, taco flavored Doritos.
All right, quick review. We this week, during Film Franchise Fortnights preparation, we tried 2 new flavors of Doritos. Doritos After Dark.
Yep.
There's Southern Fried Chicken and Tacos After Midnight. I didn't have the Tacos After Midnight.
They taste like ground beef.
Oh yeah, so it's just beef and chicken.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I didn't like either of them.
Yeah, I kind of got into the chicken ones.
Okay.
Is there a way that we can like put dibs on Pulgasari? This is like our official thing.
You can prove. So if it gets made, you can prove that we had the idea first.
The guy wrote a book. Shinsen Oak wrote a book. So if we can somehow get the rights to that book, we're rolling in it.
Okay, let's go for that. If you know how to do this, please send us a message. I've gone drunk with power from the like small boom in listeners we got in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm pretty wasted on power.
Shall we make like Godzilla
what's coming up next week? So we've got the Heisei series that'll be being released next Friday.
Yep. We've also got Soda Popture on Thursday. So that if you haven't followed us on Facebook or YouTube, you should, because that's a series where we talk about that week in Hollywood news while we drink some crazy sodas. So what did we drink last week? We did
ranch dressing. No,
wait. This will come out after episode 3. So episode 2, which we just recorded in real life a couple of days ago.
Ranch, sour plum juice, and wood apple.
Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen in the episode that came out yesterday, according to when you're listening to this. But check that out. We'd love to get people. It's actually a live show, so you can actually watch it live, 8 p.m. New Zealand time. I don't know what time that is anywhere else. Maybe should have factored that in. But yeah, check it out, watch it. You can talk to us live. You can ask us questions, and we can ask you questions. And it's just a fun old time.
Yeah.
So
and we'll see you back here next week. We will be talking about the Heisei series, which starts with Return of Godzilla, also called Godzilla 1985.
What a thing to be doing voluntarily in my free time with my busy schedule.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
For very little return. Alright. Well, I hope you have a good rest of your day. Or a good sleep if you're listening before bed.
And if you're already asleep, share Cold Popture on Facebook. Share Cold Popture on Facebook.
I'm gonna replace that with like real loud Godzilla roar. If you're already asleep.
Oh my gosh, that roar. Do they change the roar at any point in the upcoming films? All right, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't stand listening to that anymore.
Fun fact: the roar was created by dragging a resin-coated leather glove over the strings of a double bass.
I could have told you that. That's exactly what it sounds like. The first thing I thought when I heard it was, it's resin.
You like bass? A double.
Double bass, yeah. All right, thank you for listening, everybody.